Hi. Okay, I'm really excited about this series. So this is the first of 8 series that I'm doing from my 30 and 30 meal plan that I just recently posted about that you can still access if you have not yet signed up for it. So I am making tonight one of the 15 recipes that is in the meal plan, and I'm doing the sun-dried tomato chicken burgers, sweet potato, sautéed onions, and bell peppers. And if you want to follow this recipe, just click on the link in my bio or just message me, and then I can send you the link for the meal plan because it'll make it really easy for you to cook along with me while I'm doing it. But it's a super easy recipe, as are all the recipes in the meal plan. So just to reiterate, the meal plan has 15 recipes. There's 30 total ingredients, and then all of the meals take 30 minutes or less. So I really wanted to make something that was going to be super easy for people, like after the holidays, going into the new year, where you don't have to like start this whole new meal plan and like do all this prepping. Like I really wanted this to be about simplicity and keeping things like easy in the kitchen. And then of course all the recipes are delicious and healthy as always. So I'll start with the sweet potato for the recipe. So I've already cut the sweet potato, and if you have the meal plan, or if you are going to find the meal plan, you'll see that I have a prep list scheduled. So on Sundays, I schedule, I think it's like about an hour total of time where you prep some of your vegetables ahead of time, so that when you go to actually make the meal, all you have to do is like throw the sweet potato on the pan. And I know that it seems like a thing that wouldn't save you that much time, but it really does, because chopping sweet potatoes, especially when they're huge, can actually end up taking like another just extra time that you're like, I just don't want to do that. And so now all you have to do is throw it on the pan and put it in the oven. And so in the meal plan on that Sunday, I have a couple other preps that you do before you actually start cooking. So like break down your cauliflower, cut your sweet potato, boil eggs, like just really simple things so that when you go to make the food to eat, it saves you that much time. So parchment paper on a sheet pan. I always use parchment paper because it means less cleanup. And I just cubed the sweet potato, and I kept the skin on the sweet potato because it's easier and more fiber. So just lay it out nice and even on the pan. And then, cut that piece. Another little hack that's really nice about this recipe is, there's the oven. The oven's preheated to 415. And so I had it kind of preheated ahead of time, but these are sun-dried tomatoes. So this is gonna be like the main flavor profile in the chicken burgers that we're making. And what I do is I use the oil in the sun-dried tomato jar and use that to cook the sweet potatoes as well as the peppers and onions that we're gonna do, because I like the flavor. And it's like I want to make this meal plan as simple and as less food waste as possible. So like we're using every single part of every vegetable in all the recipes that are in the plan. So I just did like 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil. I'm just gonna grab a spatula, toss it around. And if you don't like sun-dried tomatoes, this recipe obviously isn't for you, but these are just like regular sliced sun-dried tomatoes in oil. Like the only ingredients are tomatoes, white vinegar, there's some citric acid, and sunflower oil, which I don't love. I'd rather it be olive oil, but slim pickings around here. I'm actually not going to salt the sweet potatoes yet. Let me see. Yeah, in the recipe, I did say to salt them because always salt your potatoes, but I'm gonna do it after just because I want that like fresh taste. And there's a little bit of salt in the oil. Okay, so this is going in the oven. That's at 415. And we want to get this is the first step because sweet potatoes do take a little bit longer to cook. So this is the place that you want to start always. I need a rack. Hi, Tyson. Wait, no, that was Jane. Hi, Jane. sweet potatoes are in. And then that's pretty much like the main thing, like not the hardest, but like the main thing that you want to get out of the way. And when they're already cut, it seriously saves so much time. So now we're gonna make the burgers. And we're doing chicken because in another recipe that we have in the meal plan, we're using chicken. And so this is another example of like me trying to utilize one ingredient multiple times, you know, to save ingredients, cost, and time. But so I'm using a full pound of chicken breast or ground chicken. And in the recipe, I do have it as a half of a pound, but that's because the meal plan is really kind of ideally for one person, 1 to 2. I'm always cooking for 2 people. So I'm doing a full pound of chicken, but it works either way. So 1 pound of ground chicken. I'm gonna crack in 1 egg. And you don't really need egg, but I always like it because I don't like when my burgers fall apart, and it just makes it easier for me just to kind of bind everything. And then I am gonna do garlic, and in the recipe the garlic is optional, but to me, like, if garlic is an option, you're always gonna add the garlic. I don't know, it just does take a little bit extra time. So if this goes over 30 minutes in cooking time, I apologize, but the garlic is kind of like, I don't know, you could use garlic powder too, but yeah. So I'm trying to keep everything under 30 minutes because the whole meal plan is designed to be quick, easy, fast, delicious. I'm gonna use my microplane to grate the garlic into the chicken burgers. And if anyone hasn't tried this or doesn't have a microplane, I highly, highly suggest investing in one. I think I got this one for like $8 or something. And look at that, like that was 1 whole clove of garlic. You don't even have to chop. And I don't always do this, but because I'm doing multiple garlic cloves, it just saves so much time. And again, that's what we're trying to do here. I want these dinners to be really easy. I want them to be fast, and I don't want someone to have to go into the kitchen being like, oh, I gotta make chicken burgers and sweet potatoes, and it's gonna take all this time. Like, it really should only take you 30 minutes when you have the prep done too. So mincing the garlic, and like, look at that literally took me like 30 seconds to do it. And it seriously, I love garlic, I don't know, but I'm always gonna add it. So we got garlic, egg, chicken in the bowl, and then we're gonna add some fresh parsley. And if you know me, I'm always adding fresh herbs into my recipes because why wouldn't you? And we have, for the 30 total ingredients in this meal plan, parsley, a whole bunch of parsley is one of the ingredients. And parsley, I've mentioned this before, is extremely high in vitamin C and really high in antioxidants. It naturally helps detoxify in your body, and honestly, you can't like really super taste it. So if you can add fresh herbs into any of your food, you should. And they're cheap to buy, you know. And so that's another thing about this meal plan and a lot of these recipes is that it's not gonna break the bank, because I'm not like asking for all these crazy ingredients that you're never gonna have on hand, you know. So finally chop up some parsley. Yeah, I hate cutting garlic too, Brooke. I think I got my microplane at Walmart, honestly, and again, it was like $8. And I use it for ginger, to zest citrus, you know. So like, if you hate cutting garlic, get the microplane. All right, parsley chopped in with the chicken egg. And then what else? I'm looking at the recipe here from the meal plan. So that's kind of what it looks like if you buy the meal plan. And then it's a completely digital ebook, which just gets sent right to your email. So I'm just looking at it on the iPad as I go along. Very convenient. Salt and pepper, egg. Yeah, and that's pretty much everything that goes into these burgers. They're really quite simple. So in my recipe, or in the instructions, I do have it so that you can bake these burgers on a pan, but I'm going to pan fry them on the stovetop because I personally like the extra crisp that you get. And I don't know if it's gonna be quicker or not, but I'm just gonna do that. So I'm gonna preheat the pan right now to about medium. Yeah, I put it on like medium. And then I'll just use a fork to mix up all these ingredients, and then I'll add some salt and pepper. And you could add breadcrumbs too. This ground chicken isn't like too sticky, so honestly don't really think I need to. Plus breadcrumbs aren't in the ingredients, and I didn't want to add another ingredient just for one recipe. So again, we're keeping this as minimal as we can. But if you have breadcrumbs, or if you have like flour, you could even use ground oats or like quick oats, like kind of anything that you might have laying around already in your pantry that are going to help as a binder, but you really don't need them. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot to add the sun-dried tomatoes into the burgers. So that's going to be, that's literally the whole thing that I'm doing is sun-dried tomato burgers, and I forgot to add them. Okay, let me cut up the sun-dried tomatoes. These ones are actually already sliced, but I'm going to just like quickly dice them up so that they're not like huge pieces in the burger. And then it's totally okay if some of that oil gets in, because we're using that sun-dried tomato oil on the sweet potato already anyways. Kind of makes a mess, but that's okay. So it calls for in the recipe a half of a jar. I already have this jar open, and the nice thing about sun-dried tomatoes or any kind of vegetables that are in oil is they do keep decently well in the fridge. So I already used this one for a different recipe. So that looks like, I don't know, probably about a third of a cup of sun-dried tomatoes going in. With the oil too is totally fine. And then I'm going to add some salt and pepper before I mix it again. So freshly cracked pepper. I always kind of overdo it with pepper because I love pepper. And sea salt, extremely, extremely necessary, especially when you're working with any kind of protein. Just kind of trust how much you like to use, and you can always add salt after. So that's a really important thing too. But I added like about half a teaspoon or so. So egg, parsley, ground chicken, sun-dried tomatoes, salt and pepper. You can make this into meatballs. You could do anything, but I like burgers because they're easy. Or I guess I shouldn't even really call them burgers because they're not on a bun. They're on their own. So patties, I guess. All right. And that looks mixed to me. And this is kind of the not so fun part, but also kind of the fun part when you shape the patties. And you gotta use your hands. There's not really any other way to get in there and make burgers or patties efficiently without using your hands. So what I usually will do too is like I'll flatten everything in the bowl. And this is just because like I'm somewhat of a perfectionist and you really don't have to do this, but I'll sort of make little lines. I'm gonna do 6. Yeah, I'm gonna make 6 today. So I'm gonna cut it into 6. Oh my God. Let me start over. Okay. How do I make 6 into a circle? And then, okay, so the point of this anyways is that you can just kind of grab, and then you already know that your burgers are going to be the same size. So I have like little lines showing me 6 different sizes. And okay, it is pretty sticky. And since my hands are already now nice and dirty, I'm not going to add breadcrumbs. But if it's like really sticky to the point where nothing's staying together, that's when you want to add a little bit more of a binder. But I'm just going to go for it. So there's no perfect way to do this. Just try to use your hands and create a nice shape into a patty or whatever size you're going for, and then add to a plate. You just got to make sure that before you start shaping the burgers or doing anything where you're actually touching the meat, make sure that you don't need to add anything else, or that you have a plate ready, because if you're not, then your hands are dirty and then you got to like go wash them and then grab everything. So I already have my plate and everything ready to go. The pan's already heating up. So I'll just wash my hands after this and then put them in the pan. But that was like, I remember when I started cooking a lot in the beginning, and then I'd like touch the meat and then I'd be like, oh crap, and I forgot something, and then I have to run and then wash my hands, and it just makes it easy to, like, before you get into the meat, make sure you have everything ready to go. So yeah, I usually grab a ball and then just kind of flatten it, and then I'll just like sort of like push in the outsides to make it more round, and like it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not really going for aesthetics here, but if you want to make a nice round burger, that's kind of usually how I do it. And mine are already different sizes, so my method didn't really quite work. But that's okay, because I actually won't even be able to fit all of these in one pan, so I'm going to cook them separately anyways. You can smell the garlic. And I love the flavor of the sun-dried tomatoes in here. It's just such a nice little simple added flavor that you don't really use a lot in ground meat, but then I think that it just has that kind of like nice Italian flavor. And then we're gonna do the onion and the bell pepper, and it all just goes really well together. You could also add like oregano, basil, like any other kind of herbs that you have, or other spices, but I'm keeping this super, super simple because I want everything to be done in 30 minutes, and I want this to be like, you know, you don't have to think about it. But with ground meat or any kind of like meat patties, burgers, you can just add whatever you want. All right, so now I'm gonna wash my hands. I actually only ended up making 5, but that's fine. Yeah, so you just make sure you wash your hands really well. Get all that raw meat off of you. You don't want to spread any bacteria. But now you don't have to touch it anymore. So I think, yeah, I'm going to add them to the pan right now. So it should be hot enough. I'm going to move everybody. I got my pan. I got my cast iron, which I usually like to use cast iron because that's actually all that I have right now, but you could use any kind of pan. So I have it heated up on medium. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. I don't know, that's about a tablespoon. You could also use butter. And just swirl it around. And then grab a spatula to, Brett, you want to help me quick? Okay, I'm not doing so well here with using my hands at the same time, so Brett's going to take over.
What am I doing?
We'll flip it around and then we'll make some burgers. Thank you. I was literally trying to like hold the camera, and this is way easier. Yeah, so I was hoping I was going to fit all of these, but I'm definitely not going to. I'm just going to make the 5 right now.
Well, that one got a little muffed up there.
Yeah, it's fine. And then let's check the sweet potatoes. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
they're
okay.
looking nice and toasty. I'm going to grab another spatula, and I'm just going to, like, toss them around. And I like to usually keep the potatoes in, like, they're already soft, so they're pretty much already cooked. But I like to keep them in until they get a little toasty, because I like it when they have like a little bit of a like brown on them. So those will definitely need a little bit longer. That's why it's really important to get those in first, because if you don't get that in first, then your sweet potatoes are gonna be either uncooked or mushy. And okay, I lied and I said that I wasn't gonna add spices, but I am gonna add spices because I have oregano, and I'm just gonna do a little bit on top. And then, so this will cook for about 6 minutes, 6 to 8 minutes on each side. Just make sure that your burner isn't too hot. And you really don't have to do anything. Like, just put them in the pan, leave them, and flip them, and that's really all you have to do. Just try to keep like a little bit of an eye on them, and that's really it. So now we're gonna do the onion and the pepper. I can
You want to switch it back?
Yeah, I guess so. Unless you want to hold it the whole time. What did I say, Tiana? Did I say 5 or more? I don't know. Either way, there's 4 burgers in the pan right now. So, we got the chicken burgers cooking. We got the sweet potato cooking. And now we're going to do sauteed pepper and onion. And this is like a really simple side that you can do. And especially because onion is the ingredient I didn't include in the total 30 recipes of this meal plan, because I really think that everyone should always have onions on hand. And if you don't, unfortunately, it would be like technically a 31 ingredient thing. But I mean, come on, if you're cooking, like, onions are always almost in the kitchen. And if they're not, like, they should be, because they stay good for so long. So go buy a bag of onions, and trust me, you'll end up using them way more than you think. So there's a lot of people cut onions different ways. I just head and tail them, and then I'll peel off the outer piece of skin. And I'm gonna make like a little bit of bigger pieces because I want to just really quickly saute them in the pan so they get a little bit charred. You could also bake them, like put them on the sheet pan with the sweet potato. But I'm doing everything stovetop so I can also show you guys. But if you were at home and you wanted to keep it even more simple, just chop up the onion and the bell pepper and then throw it on the pan in the oven with the sweet potato. And then you don't even have to think about it, like just leave it alone. So I cut it in half, created slices about that thick, and then I'm going to pretty much cut it in thirds, so that, because I want pieces that are a little bit bigger. And if you don't like onions, again, or sun-dried tomatoes, this recipe is not for you. But red onions especially, they have this like really nice sweetness. And when you char them, I love the flavor. Like, it reminds me of like a blooming onion or like onion rings or something. Like, I love cooked onions. And a lot of people underestimate the power of onions. Like, they assume it's not a vegetable, but it really is. Like, onions have amazing properties to them. They're really good for your circulation. They make you cry. I'm crying right now. But no, onions are a vegetable. They're a root vegetable. They're a grounding food. And if you're eating them, if you're cooking with them in a lot of your recipes, you are getting those properties and you are getting the benefits of onions. And don't think just because onions, oh my gosh, I'm crying. Onions are used a lot that they're not super beneficial for you, because they are. Onions and garlic, like, it's like they get overlooked, but they're very important in cooking and for your body. Alright, I'm just grabbing another pan, and I'm going to heat this one to medium high, and I'm going to add in more of that sun-dried tomato oil, and then we're just going to like toss the onion and the pepper in the pan. I can smell the burgers already. They smell really good. So the onion pieces we got cut, and you don't have to use red onion for this, but again, like, I really like the flavor and the colors look nice on the plate. So we're going for that meal there. And this is how I cut a bell pepper. I don't know if you can see this. I cut the head off for the top, cut the bottom, and then I just kind of like run my knife through the inside, so that all you have to do is just grab it from there and it's empty. And then with the top, you got that top part, just pop it out. And to me, like, that is hands down, sorry, I'm crying still, the Okay. Can you hear me now? Anything? Okay, I'm restarting. I'll be back.